All right, we ready?
Oh, we're ready.
Ready? Ready? Okay, let's go. How do I start this through again?
Just like that.
Official, unofficial, official, unofficial, official, unofficial. It's definitely not official. Official, unofficial, official, unofficial, official, unofficial. It's guess.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to the official, unofficial podcast, New Girl in Review. Over here next to me, I have one of my co hosts, Al. What's up, buddy?
Oh, hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good.
Good, good. And then down here is Ben. Ben, what's up?
What's up, Erica? How you
Not
doing?
much. Pretty good. How about you, buddy?
Good, good. I'm ready for a good episode. It's gonna be fun.
Heck yes. Today's episode is Thanksgiving. It's written by Berkeley Johnson, who actually did some writing for Conan O'Brien as well, and directed by Miguel Arteta, who this quote is fantastic. I love this quote. I found it on the fantastic site IMDb. Fear is the enemy of storytelling, which I just thought that was a really, really cool little quote
Ooh.
from him. Did a
Yeah, that's
lot
really
of directing for a lot of things. Isn't that a good quote, though? I loved it. Cool
Great
little
quote.
Great quote. So, yeah, I can talk. Yes. So, this episode is fantastic. It starts out with Jess dressed up as a turkey and one of my favorite recurring characters, Paul, and Paul Genslinger. And he's dressed up in a gourd costume. And we have some characters on stage singing. And they're talking about, Thanksgiving and plans. And it's just the most awkward conversation in the world. And you have Genslinger asking Jess about her boyfriend. And she's like, oh, yeah, we broke up. Good riddance. And, she asked him about Thanksgiving. And he starts telling her about how he usually spends it with his Nana. But she sadly passed away a month ago. It's just a very, very awkward situation. Very akin to how Jess, always is. Um, we see another nice um, someone else points this out later on about how these two are very similar. It's pretty funny. But then we cut to the scene where Jess is back in the apartment carrying this huge turkey, and the boys are like, hey, what's going on? She's like, oh, we're going to have Thanksgiving, even though nobody else really wants to. And she names the turkey Hank. Thanksgiving.
Egg the turkey.
Hank the turkey. So very, very Jess thing to do. So this episode, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. We're celebrating Thanksgiving, and much like most Thanksgivings, not everything goes as planned. There are issues with cooking. There's issues with dryers catching on fire. I mean, sure, that happens with everyone, right? There guests don't always get along with each other. And, sometimes you find a neighbor dead on the floor in the bathroom. Yeah, it happens sometimes, I guess, right? But
Yep.
this is pretty usual, I guess, in the universe of Jessica Day. So we have Paul show up a little bit earlier than they wanted to. Jess is freaking out, but we do see the return of the Miss Day Jamboree t-shirt, which is
Yeah,
fantastic.
we do.
It's one of the best shirts ever. Love the puns. And he shows up a little bit early, but that's okay. Jess is freaking out because the turkey's not thawed enough, but she does convince Schmidt to help cook, which is good. She just needs to invite Cece. Yeah, small price to pay, I suppose. And she goes and gets ready. Paul's trying to make himself at home, even though he's pretty intimidated by the fact that she lives with three guys, which he confesses to Winston. You can tell that Nick doesn't really like him pretty much from the get-go, even though Jess tries to tell Nick that she really likes him and she really just needs his help to try to, seal the deal. And Cece tries to help Schmidt cook dinner, but Schmidt has some issues in the kitchen, to say the least. It's got some control issues, and it's very apparent when Cece tries to take that big scoop of walnuts out and Schmidt kind of loses it. And he gets a little upset when he has no more walnuts. The walnuts are ruined. Whole bowl of them just totally contaminated because Cece hasn't washed her hands recently. So Nick and Paul go and get new walnuts because Paul's had 2 pumpkin ales and can't drive. So Jess suggests that Nick takes him, and they have some issues in the car. And when they get back, Paul tells Jess that he doesn't think Nick likes him very much. And that's when everything starts to go haywire. There's a big puff of smoke from the laundry room, and that's when Schmidt runs in, grabs the turkey out of the dryer, and slides through the floor holding the turkey. And the dryer's completely just spewing smoke everywhere. And the boys try to get the smoke cleared out. They can't. But they just decide they're going to go to the bar. But Paul tries to save the day and suggests that, they try to group back together and make the best of everything. Jess remembers that she has a key to the neighbor's place. So they go over there. They all carry all the stuff down over, go into the neighbor's apartment, except for Nick, because she has some words with Nick in the hallway. When everybody can hear her and Nick arguing about how she wants to cut Paul off a piece of that pumpkin pie, which I think is probably one of the best lines in this episode. She wants to cut him off a piece of that pumpkin pie, and
Big time.
big time. Big time. Yes. Great line. Winston comes out and lets her know that everyone can hear everything she's saying. They all walk back in and continue to try to have a nice day. And Schmidt finishes cooking and cleaning everything up. Nick and Winston and Genslinger have a nice little heart-to-heart on the couch. Jess folds some napkins while Genslinger plays her some music on his violin. And that's when they all go to sit down, and they all convince Paul to play some music before they start eating, even though Nick starts eating without everyone. And he backs up into the hallway where he screams like a small girl and yells, "Dead body, dead body." And that's when they discover their poor neighbor is dead in the bathroom. So the cutscene to the paramedics taking the poor neighbor lady out, and Paul getting stuck in the elevator with them, which is the most awkward situation I think you can probably be put in, at least one of them, let's say. And they all kind of wish him well, and then we cut back to the gang wait in line at Best Buy for the Black Friday deals because they need a new dryer. They tell them that that's where they'll be later. So Paul actually ends up walking back up with his violin and a bag full of turkey hoagies for the gang. And they all kind of reconvene there. And it's just a nice little way to end off the episode. Everyone goes back to the end of the line because you can't cut in line on Black Friday. That's a big no-no. Everyone starts making a big fuss over it because they think Paul's cutting, and Nick kind of yells at all of them. It's pretty funny. But Jess and Paul go skipping off into the sunset, and the rest of the gang just walks to the back of the line. And that's where we end the episode of Thanksgiving. So sounds like a pretty eventful day for Thanksgiving in the gang. So, guys, what did we just overall think of the episode? What did you think, Al?
I loved this episode.
Mhm.
The Justin Long character is phenomenal. I love when Nick looks at him joining in with Jess singing along with her, and he goes, "Oh, there's 2 of them." That's one of my
Exactly.
favorite.
Mm-hmm.
That's an observation that anyone could make just looking at those 2 together. Probably just a lot of really really fun moments. Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yep. What about you, Ben?
Yeah, I thought it was really good. I didn't think it was quite as strong for me personally as some of the prior episodes, but I like I said, the setup with her and Paul. That was great, and obviously some of the really comedic moments. Yeah, just Paul screaming when he finds the dead body.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Yep.
Justin Long's fantastic in the role. So no, I
Really is.
love the music. I love the cars. So when Nick and Paul are in the car, and
Mhm.
the cars just cars you might think is playing on in the background. I absolutely love that too. So whoever does the music in these shows just so good.
They don't miss. They really don't. There's
Yeah,
great music in every episode, and I
yeah,
love when Paul is singing that they're going to get walnuts in the car. He goes, "Are you
yeah.
singing what we're going to do?" I'm like, "I guess I am." Like, it's
If
such a
anyone would
moment.
be familiar with that, I think Nick would be familiar with a human that does like that does
Mhm,
that.
exactly.
Jess is
That is
that.
Jess
I
all the
was shocked.
time. Exactly,
Exactly.
and that's what I meant by it's just they're 2 peas in a pod. They are so much alike, and it's really apparent when, like I said, it happens later in the show when Nick goes, "Oh my god, there's 2 of them." They are carbon copies of each other, and it is hysterical to watch them interact just throughout this entire episode and even further into this season. He is one of my favorite characters. Just I like one of my favorite reoccurring characters because he is the male version of Jess, and it's hilarious. I love
He's
him.
great.
He is fantastic. All right,
I,
so
lo-
that
I love the return of the Jamboree T-shirt, and yeah, the turkey in
yes.
the dryer was
Oh my
probably
gosh.
the part that had me in hysterics. Just
Mhm.
it was so good.
Yep, fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna give it 8 Schmitties. Oh, are we doing that yet?
Not yet, but we'll get there. We'll get there to your 8
We'll
Schmitties.
get there. Yeah, hold that.
Hold your Schmitties.
I'll try. I'll try to hold my Schmitties in.
First, we're gonna go to the douche jar. So there are so many lines. I mean, I really just these past few episodes, Schmidt has been on a roll, and this episode is no exception. Oh my gosh. Okay. So it starts off with him calling it dudes giving. And the
Yes.
gang just yelling, "No, we're not doing that. I don't care how many emails you send." Dudes giving is hilarious because the guys all I mean, and I bring this up later on, but the guys just want to watch football, drink beer, and go shopping at Best Buy for Black Friday. I mean, that's a lot of people's Thanksgiving. But and then Schmidt's like, "Dudes giving." It's like, "No, dude." No. So Dudes Giving was awesome. That was right off the bat. And then this was probably one of my favorites. Don't ask a guy out on the least sexy holiday in America. That line is hilarious. And in case you're wondering, the most sexy holidays in America 4th of July, Independence Day, Women's History Month, and Christmas. Okay. Not Thanksgiving. Least sexy holiday of the year. This line was a two-parter. Thank you, Jess, for the setup. I can't get it in. We've all been there, am I right? So that was a good one. Um, this one was when Jess was on the floor hugging the turkey. And he goes, I'm not going to lie, this is turning me on a little bit. Which when she's just sitting there holding the turkey like this on the floor,
Right.
trying to use her body heat to warm it up, which is just so gross because raw turkey is disgusting. But like, just yeah, oh my gosh. Um, Whenever Cece puts mashed potatoes on his nose and he starts to freak out a little bit and goes, where in this recipe does it say put mashed potatoes on Schmidt's nose? It was probably I was dying. That was one of my favorite parts. Um, when the turkey blows up the dryer and there's smoke everywhere, and he goes, my lace stick guy's freaking out. It's like, who says that? And last but not least, when he's cooking dinner, he goes,
Yes.
well, I can blanch or I can talk, but I can't do both. It's just
That's so good.
so fantastic. So those are my lines that I've picked out from this episode. So Ben, what is your douchebag line of the day?
Look, I think you ticked all the boxes there. Some fun little moments I've got down here is just the line to CC, you beautiful savage.
That's a good one.
Focus.
Mhm.
We've got, I think, pretty much everything else. I like the line, "Do you want my cardi?" Because that's going to be a reoccurring thing that we're going to find out about is Schmidt's
Yes.
cardi. And there's a lot of fun back and forth with Nick and Schmidt later on about that. So I like the introduction
Mhm.
there. But yeah, it has to go to, well, I can blanch or I can talk, but I can't do both.
Such a good line.
So good.
That was also my winner. But
Mhm.
in this episode, we get a rare occurrence of someone from the gang actually calling out the douche jar.
Yes, we do. Mhm.
Because when Schmidt slides onto the floor, holding that turkey, saving it from the fire, shirtless, mind you.
Yep.
I think it's Nick who says,
Mhm.
"Jar."
Jar. Yep. Schmidt doesn't say anything. He just the act of him sliding
Act.
on the floor, shirtless, holding the turkey through the smoke, is enough for Nick to just go jar. Yep.
Exactly.
No, it's pretty funny. Yeah. Yep. But I think my line is definitely, well, I can blanch or I can talk, but I can't do both because that is probably the douchiest thing that comes out of his mouth, at least. Not his
Mhm.
douchiest act, but definitely the douchiest thing that comes out of his mouth in
Yeah,
this episode for sure.
I would have to agree with that 100%.
Yes. So, all right. Next up is Nick's tips. And he does have a few in this episode, even if one of them kind of sucks. Uh, watch football, drink beer, and go to Best Buy for Black Friday. Like I said, I've already pointed that one out, but that is definitely, like I said, a lot of people's, that's a lot of people's Thanksgivings. And that's definitely one from Nick on this episode. Don't like Black Friday. Black Friday sucks, but that's just the retail in me. So, uh, and also his line to Jess, be the girl who replaces his dead Nana. And she's like, exactly. Um,
Yes.
I love that line just because Jess is so dense to what is actually going on there. But that line is hilarious from Nick. It's perfect. Um, then when him and Jess are arguing in the hallway about like why she needs his approval so much, um, and he says, because I don't have to have sex with him. That's also a good one. That's why she doesn't really need his approval because he doesn't have to have sex with him. Jess does. So it really doesn't matter. So I really thought that was a good one. Um, and then when Paul says, can I tell you something? And he comes over to Nick to sit down next to him. And he goes, you didn't have to come over here to say that. You could have done it from over there. I
That's
really,
definitely my
really
one.
love that one. So yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, Al.
Yeah, that one to me is it's again, it's
Mhm.
that thing that you hear like Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm talk about. It's like what you want to say but don't actually say. Nick
Mhm.
just says that, and that's very, very
Mhm.
relatable in terms of like, oh, yeah, I've felt that before 100%.
Yeah.
I don't know about tips though. He doesn't have any good tips, but that's definitely my
Yeah.
favorite. Not in this episode, at least. Like it's not a strong one for Nick, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's really not. He
Mm,
has it's a pretty bad episode for Nick.
yeah.
What about you, Ben?
I've got the line, I just want to watch the game.
Just want to watch the game. That is a good line.
And my standout next tips was he likes earbud too.
He likes Airbud too. He does.
It's
He
such
likes
a
dogs. He
such
knows
a
where he
weird
gets his
obscure reference.
coffees made. Like, I mean, really gets to know Paul on that car ride. But
Oh,
he
it's so
doesn't have
good.
to have sex with him, so it's okay.
He doesn't have to have sex with him.
So you're good.
So
Yeah.
that's my one.
I did like that, and that's what you're going with, Phylon. Like that whole segment right there. I think is probably my favorite thing from Nick in this episode because, yeah, just we all feel that sometimes. You didn't have to come over here to say that. Yeah, so that's gonna be my Nick's tips for this episode because, like we said, Nick didn't have the best of episodes today, so I'm gonna go with that one. So, what about Winston?
What's up,
Winston again didn't have a huge episode this week, I think. But I have one part that really hit me with Winston, which is when him and Nick were talking on the couch after Nick kind of made fun of Genslinger. And it was he asked me my grandpa's name and Nick said to him, it's your grandpa, man. He goes, I know your grandpa's name, Mason and Charles. And he's like, yeah, Mason and Charles. So that's
Yep.
gonna be my Winston moment. Like I said, Winston didn't have a ton in this episode, but that moment was super, super strong, I think, just because you know, Nick's like, "You really like him?" And he's like, "Yeah, man, he asked me my grandpa's name." That little thing from, from Paul made a huge difference, something that Nick didn't do for how many decades that he's known Winston, and Genslinger did in the first couple hours. So that's gonna be my what's up Winston this week. So what about you, Ben?
I'm going to go with we need to figure out if he's the right guy for us. We deserve to be happy.
Yes,
and just
Yeah.
that's
and
the
just
other one.
and just him that whole intimidating Paul part at the start, and
Hmm.
then just him doing a complete 180.
Yep.
I love that. It's great.
Yep. It's good. Good. Go ahead, Al. What about you?
Definitely, I'm going with Ben on this one.
We deserve
But
to be happy.
yeah, but I also want to add that he not only did he knew Mason and Charles' names, he knew which side, like who
Yep.
Mason was and who Charles was. Like that's
Mhm.
great. That's
It is.
yeah.
Yep. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive by Winston. I also did want to point out one other thing that I really, really love from this episode before I forget about it is at the end of the episode, whenever Genslinger does come back to the Best Buy line and he's talking to Jess, and he's like, when the paramedics told me I was crying like a girl, I told them that that was sexist. And she goes, "You're right." And I love that line. I love
Yeah,
Justin
that's
Long
good.
so much. He's such a fantastic actor. And
He's
that
so
that
good.
little interaction right
Sure.
there was probably one of my favorites in this entire episode. It's just so good because it's just you're not expecting that part at all. I know I wasn't whenever I first heard it the first time, and I
Mm.
cracked up because it's like I told them that was sexist, and she's like, "You're right." And yeah, I just thought it was fantastic, and I just wanted to bring that one up. So, um, so now, hey girl, what you doing? So Al, what you doing?
I'm still taking care of a couple of cats that are being
Yay.
a joy to get along with and
Joy.
get to know. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's nice. It's nice having cats around, especially when you have some time off. So that's what
Yeah.
I've been doing.
Yay, kitties. Mine's still sleeping on the bed. All right. So for the MVP of the episode, I think, this is a rough one, I think. I think my MVP actually is gonna be Genslinger. I love him.
Yes.
I love him in this episode so much. Like I said, this guy is one of my favorite recurring characters in this show. I know he's only in a few episodes in the first season and he does make an appearance later on, but I just his speech in the hallway to get them to all go to the neighbor's apartment. I love. It's so fantastic. And he's like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "Schmidt. It's my last name." He's like, "Well, my name's Genslinger, and I want to eat that food you've been cooking all day." And just he really like riles the troops and he gets everyone pumped back up. And he really like he other than Nick gets everyone on his side by the end of the episode. I mean, and it's kind of hard to get Nick on your side if, you know, Nick isn't in a good mood because he has that turtle face. So, yeah, I mean, I think my MVP is going to be Genslinger. So, for sure. Al, what about you?
I can't disagree with that. And our MVP segment was originally called All American Hero. That
Hmm.
is Genslinger. Like you can't
Yep.
argue against that. He owns his weirdness, his quirkiness. It's a joy to watch.
Hmm. How about you, Ben?
Absolutely. I'm going Paul as well. Like I said, just the
Yeah.
fun dynamics of the group. I just love how on board Schmidt is with him as well.
Yeah.
Like, he just completely turns around. It's so great. Just those lines of Genslinger.
Genslinger. Yeah, Genslinger. Yep,
It's so
I
great.
do.
Yeah. So
He
I'm gonna have to
really
go
does.
Paul. Yeah.
Yep. And now it's time for Jake Watch. Ben, are there any updates on Jake Watch?
No, I'm very sad. There's nothing in my inbox, Jake. What's happening?
Your inbox, nothing in your inbox.
Nothing in
Nothing
my
in your
inbox.
inbox?
Nothing on the socials. But hey, let's not give up hope. Let's just keep
Let's
No.
not
using
give
the
up.
hashtag let Jake know. It'll happen. You got to keep the faith.
Someday Jake will know. So keep using that
Exactly.
hashtag. Let Jake know.
Yeah.
And someday he'll know. And someday he'll hang out with us, hopefully. Even if
We
it's
might
just for a little bit.
we might get a different, cool Jack as well, a different Jack.
There's different Jakes.
There could be different Jakes. Maybe we'll
Oh
get a
my
different Jake
gosh.
on the show. If you're a Jake and you want to be on the show,
Jake,
who knows?
I mean, hey, we are looking for guests. If if your name's Jake and you want to come hang out and talk about New Girl, let Jake know.
Exactly. Hashtag Luke Jake no.
Yes.
But yeah, that's the update.
No. Good update. Good update. I think it's good. Awesome. So let's do our ratings then. I am giving this episode a 9. 9 schmitties for me for this episode. It was just so much fun. The dynamic between Jess and Paul is fantastic. Like I said, they are just absolute carbon copies of each other. And they're so much fun to watch. Just go back and forth. Just from the play at the beginning and their goofiness and their little songs that they sing, and just I love watching those two interact with each other throughout this episode and just further on through the season. I love them. So I'm giving this episode 9. It's always been one of my favorites for sure. So what about you, Al?
I'm going 8.5 for this one, only because the rest of the storylines don't really come close to the Paul storyline, which is
Mhm.
phenomenal. But yeah, that carries the entire episode, in my opinion. So it's a good one.
Yep. Ben, how do you feel?
You'll never guess what I'm going to give it.
I have no idea.
No idea. I'm going to go 8 schmitties out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good
Nice.
episode. Still a good episode.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wraps up our episode about Thanksgiving. So thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you want to check us out at the oupod.com, you can find out all of our social links, YouTube, everywhere we are on podcasts. And if you could subscribe, like, give us ratings, leave us comments, all that cool stuff, that would be super awesome. We also have a Patreon. You can find us there, patreon.com/unofficial podcast. And we have lots of different tiers with lots of different options and lots of different cool stuff over there. So shout out to our Patreon producers, Tiff Stardust, Largent, and the guys over at Simply Sassy. So anything else, guys? Al?
That's pretty much it. You can
Did I
find
hit
us at
everything?
yeah. That's everything.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, until next time, keep it unofficial.
Have a great Thanksgiving. Bye.
Bye.